Hi, I'm Jeff Gundy, and welcome to Cooking with Comics, where we'll learn about the weirdest concoctions my fellow comedians have made in the kitchen and what was going on with them at the time. Today, I'm talking with Tanner Coffman. Tanner, you've been making it happen out there. You live in Fort Collins, right?
I do. I live in Fort Collins.
And you're a regular at the Comedy Fort open mic on Monday nights, as well as my Obstacle Brewing mic on Thursdays. But from what I see on social, you're doing quite a bit more outside of FOCO. Are there any open mics out and about that are your favorites?
Spirits Music Hall in Johnstown, ran by Patrick Shaughnessy. That's got to be one of my favorite mics around because it's a great stage, a great crowd, great drinks too.
Can't beat a deal like a free drink at an open mic. The stage at Spirits makes you feel like a rock star as soon as you walk up there. So that's all kinds of fun. And
it's a great place.
A couple of Tuesdays out of the month. I can't remember.
Correct. I think it's the first and third Tuesdays. And then another mic in Arvada ran by Dylan Cantor. That's also a pretty good mic. The room there is great. It's at Howie's Ralston Lounge on Saturdays. That's a good time.
What do you like about that one?
It's a bar, so it's more my crowd, basically. I can tell the dirty version of my joke and it not walk somebody.
It's always nice to be able to just relax and be who you want to be.
I think it starts at like 8 or 8:30. It's kind of a later mic, but
5280comedy.com has just been revamped, so it should have that and all the open mics. So anyway, what's a comedy goal that you have currently?
So I set this goal out at the beginning of the year to hit 60 mics in 2023, and I'm already around in the 20s, and it's only March, so I think I'll easily do it.
Great goal. Yeah, I know a comedy instructor who sometimes encourages his students and other comics to do a 90 and 90. And it's like, that's great if you live in New York City, but if you don't and you're still able to make it happen, then kudos. That's a lot of dedication. So good on you, man.
Thanks. I mean, I have no kids. My job is very lenient, so I have a lot of freedom.
That definitely helps. Well, when we comedians put so much time and effort into writing, editing, rehearsing, and performing, it should be no surprise that some areas of our lives are a joke.
Sure.
Sometimes that area is the kitchen. Other times it might be the bedroom or maybe the bathroom, but those will be their own podcasts. Although the bathroom one all too often will tie in with the kitchen. Anyway.
That's hilarious.
What's something that you have put together in the kitchen that had, shall we say, an unusual outcome?
So I grew up with like ramen noodles and microwave hot dogs, and I always put A1 on my hot dogs, and people normally find that kind of funny. But one time I ate something that I didn't know what it was until I was already done eating it. I thought it was just normal Cheez-Its. I was lying on the bed and I'd just taken some mushrooms, and at the peak of my high, I was like laying on my bed looking underneath it. You know what I mean? Like laying on it with my head upside down, like looking under the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this box of Cheez-Its, and I knew I just put it down there like a day or two ago, like set it next to my bed, and I grab it and I eat it, and I get to the crumbs and I pour the crumbs in my mouth, and I'm wondering why it's so spicy and like my face is tingling. And I go in the mirror, and remember, I'm on mushrooms. I go into the mirror and realize that ants have gotten into the Cheez-Its box.
Oh.
So I just been eating ant covered Cheez-Its while tripping. So
Wow. I'll bet those ants had a very psychedelic death.
yeah, it was really weird going to the mirror and seeing like half alive ants in my teeth.
Now, obligatory question here, because I doubt if I'm the only one wondering this, but are you sure that the ants were really there, or were the shrooms just doing their job that well?
I know it was real. You know what I mean? I had ant bites on my face. So
damn, the things that happen when you're on shrooms. It's like the shrooms bring out the weirdest situations, and there was nothing you could have done to avoid it, seemingly, except maybe not take the shrooms, but that's not an option.
No.
So, A1, I mean, you're already eating ramen noodles and freaking hot dogs. I mean, if anything, A1 puts a bow tie on that, you know?
Yeah.
If it has a hope of class, that's probably it right there.
A1 is the most underrated condiment on the planet. I think A1 is delicious. I put it on mashed potatoes before. I'm a huge A1 fan.
All right. I'm more of a Heinz guy myself, but better yet, making a steak that doesn't need steak sauce.
Oh, absolutely. I would never put it on a steak.
Glad to hear you do, right? Yeah, everything but the steak, right?
No.
Well, speaking of that, do you have a favorite go-to recipe currently?
I do, but it doesn't involve A1, unfortunately.
Well,
so
I think you could always change that.
Yeah, you can always just throw A1 right on top. So this stuff is called kids casserole. This is something my stepmom made whenever we were like financially not doing so hot. And it's actually like kids love it. What it is you get like a can of ranch style beans and a can of SpaghettiOs. You mix them together and then layer that down like a casserole and then put cheese on it. And then on top of that, you put seasoned ground beef and put more cheese on top of that. And that's all it is. You can feed a lot of kids for really cheap with that.
We have a number of recipes that mimic that. So that's just another version of it. And for anybody listening, as many probably are struggling at least a little financially, or at least trying to save some money, come up with some new ideas. There's another purpose of the podcast. Every now and then, no matter how weird it is, even if you don't tell anybody else and you're listening, you might be like, I know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
And I also have a salsa recipe because I grew up in West Texas near the border, and salsa there I think is done a little differently than Colorado. So this makes about a half gallon. You want to get like 6 to 8 Roma tomatoes and like get all the guts out of it, like the seeds in the middle part, and then kind of cook them down and just get some of the water out of them, because that's really the idea, is you want the tomato without the water. And so you cook those down, and then you also put like jalapeno in there, and that all depends on your spice level. You get jalapeno and serrano, and I do about 3 jalapeno and 2 serranos, but that's really spicy. So go at your own judgment on that. And I roast the peppers in with the tomatoes, and then I blend it with maybe 1 or 1.5 white onions. Just like put it right in the blender, obviously take the nasty parts off. And then after that, once it comes out of the blender, you can chop up cilantro if you like cilantro. A lot of people hate it. And there you go.
I think you just gave me a new idea, because here we are. We're supposed to be grossing everybody out, wowing people, which we've sufficiently done with your help. But Tanner swings it. He's like, fuck that. I've got some good recipes. You want to know what's right? Let's do that. And that is kind of a side benefit of this podcast. And as you were talking about the salsa, I was thinking, right now I'm posting this on SoundCloud, but I'm going to be carrying it to my YouTube page. And maybe if we have people just like or subscribe, they can get a free recipe of ours, a legit one that we find delicious just for signing up. And we could have like a recipe of the week. So
nice.
That could be pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have more gross recipes. I'm too picky of an eater to ever gross myself out.
No apology needed. You've given me a couple already. And since we're talking about the good stuff and steak sauce and things, I make this steak marinade that makes the stuff just melt in your mouth. And it's very quick. That's what I like about it. You don't have to soak it for a long time. So if you're listening and you'd like that, I can post it on the link where you found this episode of the podcast, Facebook or wherever. It's basically soy sauce, brown sugar, wine, orange juice, pepper, a couple other spices. And it's always best to use lumped charcoal and some nice mesquite wood. And it just puts like this crust on it that isn't too much. Like it'll look burnt, but it's just perfect.
I like that nice crust on a steak. That's the best part.
Absolutely. That's the high dollar stuff if you go out and buy it.
Carcinogens, it's my favorite.
Absolutely. Hey, I gave up the cigarettes so that I can tolerate all this charcoal. We'll be good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But you could never give up the charcoal. It's the best part.
No way. I'm talking with Tanner Coffman. Get out, support live comedy. Listen to this guy. He's doing some good stuff out there pretty much nightly. And if you'd like to be a part of the Cooking with Comics podcast or just want to reach out with questions or comments, get a hold of me on Facebook or Instagram or email gundy222@gmail.com.